Regret is a thief that steals your peace. Did you know 75% of us are trapped in its grip, replaying past mistakes or dreading what's next? I'm speaking as a lifelong advocate of the Buddhist teachings, a senior who's walked through decades of life's storms and found solace in ancient wisdom. Today I'm tearing open the curtain on how Buddhism can shatter the chains of regret and hand you the key to unshakable calm. Stick with me, my friends across Europe and America. I've got stories and truths that'll hit close to home. Let's dig deeper. Why does regret claw at us so fiercely even when we try to move on? Is it just human nature, or is there a hidden mechanism in our minds that Buddhism can unlock? I've seen this struggle in my own life and in countless others, from bustling New York cafes to quiet London parks. Regret isn't just a fleeting thought, it's a heavy stone we carry, often without realizing how it bends our backs. Let's unravel this together. How can a 2,500-year-old teaching cut through the noise of modern life and offer a way out? I promise you, by the end of this, you'll see regret not as a burden but as a teacher. First, let's ground ourselves in the Buddha's insight, a piercing clarity born from his own battle with the mind's chaos. Under the Bodhi tree, he saw that regret over past actions isn't just pain, it's a barrier to liberation. He taught that every action, word, and thought plants a seed. Wholesome seeds grow joy, unwholesome ones sprout suffering. Think about that for a second. I remember a young man I met in Chicago, let's call him Tom, who couldn't forgive himself for harsh words he'd thrown at his late father. That regret gnawed at him for years, shadowing every smile. The Buddha's advice? Be mindful before you act. Ask yourself, will this bring suffering to me or others? Is my mind clouded by anger, greed, or delusion? This isn't fluffy philosophy, it's a practical shield. The Buddha's words in the Dhammapada are crystal clear. Mind precedes all mental states. Mind is their chief, their maker. If Tom had paused, reflected, and seen the storm in his mind before speaking, he might have spared himself a decade of torment. Let's break this down further. Mindfulness isn't just being present. It's a surgical tool for dissecting your intentions. Picture yourself in a heated argument, say, with a coworker in a busy Manchester office. Your pulse races, words bubble up like lava. Stop. Breathe. The Buddha says, mirror your mind, see if what's about to spill out is rooted in spite or care. This simple act of reflection can pivot a moment from regret to repair. Studies back this up. Research from the University of California shows mindfulness reduces impulsive reactions by 30%, cutting down on post-conflict regret. I've lived this myself. Decades ago, in a small German town during a community gathering, I nearly lashed out at a friend over a petty misunderstanding about shared resources. But I remembered the Buddha's teaching, took a breath, and asked myself, is this worth the pain? That pause saved a friendship. Now, imagine applying this to every decision. Choosing words with your partner, deciding how to spend your money, even how you treat yourself. The Buddha's wisdom isn't locked in ancient texts. It's a living compass for navigating life's mess. Across cultures, whether you're sipping tea in Dublin or grabbing coffee in Seattle, the ache of, I shouldn't have, is universal. But so is the remedy, reflection before action. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. The Buddha didn't expect us to be saints overnight. He knew we're human, stumbling through life's muddy paths. His teaching is a lantern, not a whip, guiding us to lessen suffering step by step. So start small. Next time you're about to snap at someone, picture a mirror in your mind. What do you see? A face twisted by anger or one softened by understanding? That image can change everything. Now here's a twist that might jolt you. What if I told you that even the best of us, those who practice mindfulness daily, still slip up? I've seen monks in meditation halls wrestle with past mistakes, and I've felt it myself. So, What does the Buddha say when regret has already sunk its teeth into you? Is there a way to heal, or are we doomed to carry that weight forever? Let's dive into a darker corner of this journey. How do we face the ghosts of our past without crumbling? I've got a story that'll make this hit hard, and it might just shift how you see your own regrets. Here's where we reach the heart of it. The Buddha's mirror isn't just for prevention, it's for healing too. Let's talk about confession, a practice as old as the Sangha itself, and one I've leaned on in my own life. But first, a story. I once knew a woman named Clara from a small town in Oregon. Clara carried a secret for 15 years. She betrayed a close friend's trust by sharing a private struggle during a moment of weakness. The guilt ate at her. She'd wake up at 3 a.m. replaying that moment, imagining her friend's hurt face. She tried burying it, distracting herself with work, even moving cities. But regret doesn't care about zip codes. When I met her at a Buddhist retreat, she was a shell, smiling on the outside, crumbling within. I shared the Buddhist teaching: don't hide your regrets. Reveal them to a wise companion, a spiritual teacher, or a trusted community. Why? Because confession does two things. It unloads the mind's burden, like dropping a 50-pound sack off your shoulders, and it opens the door to guidance so you don't repeat the same mistake. Clara hesitated, but finally, during a group session, she spoke. Her voice shook as she admitted her betrayal, tears streaming down her face in front of 20 strangers. But something miraculous happened. The group didn't judge. A senior teacher offered gentle words, pointing out how her guilt showed her deep care for friendship, and suggested ways to make amends even years later. Clara told me later it felt like a dam broke, she could breathe again. This isn't just anecdotal. Psychological studies, like those from Harvard in 2017, show that confessing wrongdoings reduces cortisol levels by up to 25%, easing stress and mental anguish. The Buddha knew this long before science caught up. In the Vinaya, the monastic code, he instructed monks to confess faults openly to maintain harmony and personal peace. I've walked this path myself. Years back, I harbored regret over neglecting a family member during a tough time, too caught up in my own struggles to notice theirs. I confided in a mentor, a wise old monk from a retreat in Scotland. He didn't lecture, he listened. Then he asked, "What can you do now to show love?" That question flipped a switch. I wrote a heartfelt letter, apologized, and rebuilt that bond. Confession isn't weakness, it's strength. It's not about shame, it's about release. Think of the last time you messed up, maybe a harsh word to a spouse, a missed chance to help a friend. Picture sitting with someone you trust, maybe over a pint in a quiet London pub or a coffee in a cozy Boston diner, and letting it out. The Buddhist community, the Sangha, was built on this. Mutual support, not judgment. But let's get practical. Who do you confess to? Not just anyone. The Buddha stressed a wise companion, someone grounded, compassionate, who won't gossip or condemn. It could be a teacher, a close friend, or even a therapist with a spiritual lens. And if you're not ready to speak, start by writing it down. Journaling your regret, as I've done, can be a first step to clarity. The key is honesty. Don't sugarcoat it, face it raw. Clara's story, my own, and centuries of Buddhist practice show this truth. Regret loses its power when it's no longer a secret. So ask yourself, what's one regret you've buried deep? Imagine the weight lifting if you shared it. The Buddha's path isn't about erasing the past. It's about freeing yourself from its grip. This practice isn't a one-time fix. It's a muscle you build. Every confession, every moment of raw honesty, chips away at the wall between you and peace. Across Europe and America, I've seen folks from all walks, teachers in Paris, artists in LA, find this relief. Regret doesn't define you, how you handle it does. Now, let's lighten the load with a bit of warmth. Think of confession as a spiritual spring cleaning. You know that messy drawer in your kitchen stuffed with old receipts, broken pens, and who knows what? That's your mind when regret festers. Confession is yanking that drawer open, dumping the junk, and finally finding space for what matters. I chuckled when a friend in Dublin described it as giving your soul a good scrub. And he's not wrong. I recall a retreat in the English countryside where a gruff old carpenter, not the spiritual type at all, shared how he'd shortchanged a client years ago. He confessed it to our circle, half expecting ridicule. Instead, we laughed, not at him but with him, when he admitted he'd overcharged for a wobbly table that collapsed in a week. That laughter broke the tension. He felt human again. The Buddha's wisdom isn't dour, it's freeing, sometimes even funny when you see the absurdity of your own missteps. Picture yourself at a family gathering in the Midwest, admitting to your cousin you borrowed their favorite sweater 20 years ago and never returned it. The confession might spark a giggle, a shared memory, and suddenly that tiny guilt isn't a monster anymore. Or imagine a quiet moment in a Berlin park, confiding in a friend about a professional blunder, say botching a presentation that cost you a promotion. As you speak, their nod of understanding, maybe a story of their own flop, turns shame into connection. I've seen this magic unfold in small Buddhist groups from Amsterdam to Atlanta. People sharing regrets over tea, sometimes with a smirk, sometimes with a tear, but always with relief. The Buddha taught that unburdening the mind isn't just healing, it's a doorway to joy. Think back to a time you let something go, maybe apologizing to a sibling for a childhood spat. Didn't the air feel lighter? That's the gush moment, the emotional rush of shedding dead weight. I've felt it myself, confessing a petty grudge I held against a neighbor for years over a silly fence dispute. When I finally spoke it out at a community meeting, we ended up sharing a pint and laughing at how small it seemed in hindsight. Confession isn't just therapy, it's a reset button. So take a breath with me. Picture one regret, big or small, and imagine spilling it to someone safe. Feel that knot in your chest loosen? That's the Buddha's gift, turning pain into peace, one honest word at a time. Let's not just nod at this wisdom. Let's live it, whether you're in the rolling hills of Tuscany or the concrete jungle of Chicago. So here's the heart of it all, 2 pillars of Buddhist wisdom to crush regret and build peace. First, reflect before you act, using the mirror of mindfulness to check your intentions. Second, when you stumble, and we all do, confess to a wise companion to heal and grow. I've lived these truths for decades, seen them transform lives from Bristol to Boston, and I'm telling you they work. Start today. Pause before you speak. Find a trusted ear for what weighs on you. Peace isn't a distant dream, it's a choice. If you felt this hit home, give a like, subscribe, and let's keep this journey going. Your support fuels these talks. And hey, drop a comment. What's one regret you've let go of or one you're ready to release? I'm all ears for your story.